I'm going to give you guys a hot tip. We're going to start with this because a lot of guys let that spool unwind on them. They get a real shock, especially that cheap flux core wire. This wire is not too bad, but I wanted to show you how to prevent that wire from unwinding on you till you get it started. And one of the things is having a better quality machine like this. This is a ProStar. Was Praxair, now it's Lindy. They got the Lindy name on them. And they're rightly popular for a lightweight, versatile, multi-purpose welder that'll handle a spool gun. It'll handle a stick. But you got to get the right sticks. Don't be a bonehead like I did. I got the wrong sticks at Harbor Freight. I should take them back. Look, 3 things here. I'm the only shop in the Northeast where you can get a full, real-life CAT scan, a comprehensive CAT scan. Okay, that's a joke. You can also, if you want to go into my merchandise, we have Orange Cat fur balls. Just drop me a line in the comments and a fur ball will be on the way. Only kidding. Okay. Now, that's one tip. This is something that's foreign to a lot of people. And unless you have guys that do like T5 or G5, G6 welding, okay? See this disc? And this is like this purposely. See how this has a suspension so you can press. This is made purposely to get down to bare metal. I don't care what kind of steel, how rusty it is, how much paint. They don't handle that much paint. They handle paint fairly well though. And this is the device. You can use an electric angle grinder, but this does, with its higher RPM, okay, there's an RPM rating. See, this actually has specs on it. Speaking of specs, by the way, that new spool of wire, I got that at the, I probably would say the mid part of COVID. It took me a while to spend down and get the money back in my pocket after I bought that welder. 2018, up in the corner there, you can, 2018. Yeah, I had to wait 3 weeks. I couldn't finish a job. See, people don't believe that's going on here. I had some numbnuts in the comments say bullshit about the other video. I don't know if it was about what happened to Harold or about what Richie said, that he had the same anomaly with a Nissan Altima, or the adult dolt living in the house. I don't know what part, but those folks, you're on my channel. Go back to Pornhub. You can come up with all the life solutions in your hand. So anyway, which is better? This is much better for rusty metal. And you don't have to worry about knocking the bearings out of your angle grinder, because when you're grinding real hard with these, okay, they get like this. You see, that doesn't remove too much. Those discs, the Keen disc, and I don't know where to buy these. These were thrown away in a dumpster at the Navy Yard. I think that's like the garbage Gary in me there. I'll go dumpster diving if there's something in there that some of those guys, they have so much money because they do it all the time. I'm a specialist in one field, and that means I probably get 1 or maybe 2 checks a year that don't add up to much. But there are guys that are spoiled, and they will waste stuff like this in a dumpster. I'll grab it. So this is not the way to fly when you're grinding welds on a large scale job. This really is not the tool to do your grinding work, especially when you're tackling something as awful as this truck. So now, this is called nozzle jelly. For you new guys that just bought a welder and you wonder why you're going through tips and your nozzle's gunking all up with spatter, and this also keeps those sparks out of your eyeballs and your undershorts too. I just set my sock on fire before. So There's other little grinders like this. This is for tight in areas where I want to get a little fussy with stuff. I'll use a tool like this one. Okay. These things. Hey, get some. These are the nuts for welding. I got them at Harbor Freight. You know. So anyway, things you got to think outside the box. You know, that's like Tom Wartsky and Puddin there, old Jake, and well, you know, we were the guys that we were locked up in the asylum together, and we called the director and we made him a spray foam Ferrari. That's what got us out. And then we opened our auto shops. It was lucky he was blind and didn't have a driver's license, but he was duly impressed he had a Ferrari of spray foam. Chinese copied the patent already. Morsky let me know. So anyway, when you're tackling a large-scale job like this, okay, there's certain things that are a necessity. We're getting a wind again. We didn't have a breeze all day, but it is beer 30, and I'll have a little bit. I'll have a sip. So anyway, I'm going to show you on this truck in my next video how I tackle those frame horns under the rear of the cab, because that when a truck is like this, this is not congruent. If anybody knows, people are trying to impress me that they have terms like trying to refer to tensile strength as torsional strength, okay? Or structural integrity is what this is called. See, there was other patches over there that were still pretty much holding the truck together pretty well. So in other words, both sides are not going to look alike, but they're going to function. Okay, now I have some to go over these welds and stuff. Okay, when I weld, I'll push my weld, or I drag my first weld and then I'll push my second weld back over it. Okay, and then if I see stuff like this, I'll hit it again. I'll grind it down. That's what you do as a welder. Okay, really what was happening was I had my heat range turned up on the welder, and it was actually pushing the metal back. It was melting the metal. Instead of welding the metal, it was kind of, that bare metal edge was getting pushed back because of the heat. So I was actually making a lap weld that didn't really do too much. So what I'm going to do is turn my heat range down, and after those welds are ground, it's easier to weld them and you don't need as much heat, and then it won't push the steel away. So take tips from me. My bad habit. Okay, look, not everything in life is the same everywhere, because I have a relative pissed off at me because they didn't get their car back because it took me so long to get parts. I don't know if it was in the view there, but that Polaris is still here because I got to go check 3 different areas to see if that thermostat was here. I'm not getting a chance, and like tomorrow I've got to go to the eye doctor because I have a lump forming in my eye. Orange cat. I got to go check the fridge. I think he got into the beer. Either him or the raccoon. There's stuff all over my shop. One of them was in a mood just to throw tools all over. I came down this morning. I'm still in between going in. Like I just went in and got a can of beer. I said, you know what? I'm going to pick some of this up again. So when I go in now, you know, do this, or I got ice, I had soda before, I was picking. But I mean, there must have been like 5 or 6 tools on the floor, and then I noticed one of the boxes that's holding some parts is upside down too on the floor. Have an orange cat. I don't think he was necessarily the culprit, though. I think that little kitten that I took in was the culprit. All right, let's get back to the frame horns. Okay, structural integrity is pretty important, and the customer's safety. But then again, when this guy picks this truck up, you know, I'm going to tell him I did my best, because there's only so much you can do with something this god awful. Okay, I mean, Then there's other areas where people fuddled or fiddled or whatever they want to call it with the welds. It was fundled, foddled, and fiddle faddled. So creating another frame, this frame being a box frame, the original frame was created in much the same manner. It was created in sections. The same. My frame is almost integral except for the bottom portion, and that's going to bind it together. And believe it or not, speaking of torsional, speaking of congruent strength, the top part of your frame is actually more important than the bottom part of the frame. Okay? That is called torsional strength. That is when one thing is supporting another with pressure. Okay? That's why the bottom is going together last on this frame, because it's important that the top is molded together with the bottom portion of the frame. Okay? Which in turn, that affects your structural integrity. Okay? So I'm sorry I'm tired out. Like I said, I had a bad weekend. Harold's wife is back home. The daughter's in a lot of hot water. Harold's trying to talk the wife into retiring now. She's going to be home for the next, I don't know how long, but he said she's going to be laid up a while. I suggest teaching the daughter some cooking skills. You see, that's the problem with the modern life, that modern parents, when both parents worked all the time, the children, they might go to school, but they don't learn everything that they necessarily need to learn. So whoever piped up to me bullshit, you know what, I just had another man standing here, I don't know if that was yesterday or the other day when Richie was here, and he just told me he rented an Altima and had some issues, or these vehicles, they got these new vehicles, they have features nobody wants. I don't want it. And I sure as hell don't want something startling me at my age behind the goddamn wheel when I'm concentrating on driving. Okay? It's bad enough sometimes you have some personal thoughts that take you into a daydream when you're not completely paying attention. That's up to your comprehensive skills in your brain to train yourself not to do those things. You see, as I'm getting older, I'm doing things like that more and more often, but I still don't think a device like that would be necessary. I've just got to start retraining myself that you've got to keep your mind on what you're doing. Okay? Part of the problem's coming from the stress of living here, and I go to a store, just like what happened with that chainsaw, the chain bar or whatever, the one from Fleabay got here, the same, and I had already bought one, so now I got two of them. It's the world that I'm living in. There's a lot of distractions, and there's a lot of suffering, because I don't need to suffer like this, not at my age. Okay? Our government, they got to get their heads and their asses wired right, and that goes for Donald J. Trump. Okay? You're probably going to hear that message in a lot of my videos from here on, because I don't think too much of the man with what he's done. Okay? He got all his cheerleaders on there, the enforcer, Matt Morris, and I wouldn't say so much David Hookstead, but there's quite a few on there. I want to tell you something. They're the worst Israeli war salesmen ever, and they don't necessarily have all their facts. Okay? And what the facts really are, the government pulls some outrageous, ludicrous shit, and then they lie about what they did. Let's put it that way, and I'm here to tell you, I was a victim of it. It's lucky I'm still as generous in my old age as I am. Thanks for watching my videos, and anyway, catch my video on doing those the frame horns under the cabs of these trucks. Okay? Thank you.